So welcome to 119 of my miniature diary, and today we're going to talk about my Beckenhall house and what I'm doing on my room box for the Tudor Room Box, and we're going to cover off a little bit of tape transfers. But first of all, I must mention that our links that I gave you yesterday were not working. We're a bit too small for YouTube, and so it wasn't working very well, but we have now corrected it on that video, so you'll be able to use the link. So now I'll just go to Beckenhall House. So yesterday and today I've spent time painting and gilding these little decorative pieces for the front of the Beckenhall House. Now I did have a little bit of trouble with this shape one. On the instructions on the kit you had lots of little ones and bigger ones, and so it seemed like you actually stuck a small one, big one and a small one in a row. And it gave you a nice little kind of a pattern, but because the surface is so rough on these, it didn't really look terribly good. So I've kept it to 2. And also they actually fit underneath the fitting here. They don't necessarily hold up this piece. They just sit there, and they're glued onto the wall and partially onto the barge board. So I've got enough for 3 across here, 3 across here, and some down the side. And then I've got smaller ones, which were these ones, and they're going to sit under here. So they do hold up the board. So it took a bit of time to figure it all out because they were quite fiddly, but we're getting there. So hopefully we'll have to put those in place tomorrow. And now I'm going to take you over to the room box and show you my progress on my Tudor room box. So here at the room box, and I have been doing some work on the chimney. I've designed a corner chimney because I thought it would have more depth. And so it'll have little bits of marble inserts in those squares and marble inserts here, and a little picture of a ship there, and I'll have false brick backing and the firebox, and hopefully that will look nice and Tudory. And I was working on the lighting for the back garden, but I didn't get my LEDs were a bit light, so I'm going to look for some stronger ones for that. So that's not quite finished, and that will light up so it'll look more deeper. And for the windows, these were 3D printed frames. I put a sheet of acetate on the back, and then I've used a painting clear medium, and I've just swirled little textures on them because you don't see that side of the window. If this was a house that had windows you saw both sides of, I would do these in 2 layers and put the acetane in between the layers. But because these are just going to be shown like that, that doesn't matter so much. So I think that they're going to look quite good when they dry. They're not quite dry yet. So that's what I've been doing with the room box. And then I've been playing with transfer mediums and tape, doing sellotape transfers. And I hadn't realised there was quite a few things you can do with those with miniatures, not just what I was doing. You could put little labels on little glass bottles, for example, but my fingers aren't deft enough to do that, so I'm not going to show you that. But I'm going to take you to Roger's kitchen now, and he's looking very apprehensive, and show you what I have been doing. And I've got 1 or 2 little tips that might make it easier for you. So here I am in Roger's Hello place, and I'm about to show you the sellotape transfers. Now I've got some different marble patterns, and I'm going to do some marble inserts in my Tudor fireplace, so I thought I'd do those. Now it's important to think of the background, because if you just have a plain background, it's going to show through. You've got a certain amount of transparency here, and you really want a colour coming through that. I painted this background green, and I quite like that. I did a red one, and that's quite good as well, but not really rich enough, I don't think. So then I've cut some pieces of card, and I'll use those ultimately when I've finished, and so you'll get a bit more red behind the red one and green and blue. So I think it's important that the background is the right colour. Now with the tape, and it's just a packing tape, I've taken a piece off because it's a bit easier to control. If you hold it above your paper, the paper jumps towards it, and what happens is you want it to jump towards it the right way. You don't want it to go all funny, and you want to be able to get it down without too many bumps. And if you use the back of a spoon, it makes it nice and smooth. And you want to do that quite a bit because you want that pattern to imprint itself onto the tape. Okay, so now I'm going to cut it out a little bit. I fortunately didn't need all of that, so I can cut that a bit smaller. So I've got it cut pretty much how I want it to be. And I'm going to lay it with the paper down into some water for about 5 minutes. So while we're waiting for that, I'll just do another one. I just need to get a piece first. It doesn't matter with those lines across, they don't show up on the finished product. Actually. And I'll do the red one. I haven't quite made it big enough, but that's fine. I want it to go there. It's quite important to try and get that nice and smooth. It's tricky stuff, this sellotape. It's got a electrical charge to it. Okay, so we'll just get that soaking. Should be able to start now. So now you have to rub this very carefully with your fingers. If you do it too much, you take the pattern off. So you can feel it starting to go. And I try and, if it's been soaking well enough, you only really need one pass. And it's good to just do one pass because then you're not damaging the underneath. Probably could have been a little bit wetter. This is why I needed Roger's kitchen, because my workshop gets too even more messier. Okay, so it's coming on nice. It's good. It's coming off. I've taken a little bit off there accidentally. The other thing to remember is that paper has a grain-like material, and it works better if you've got it going with the grain. I didn't check my paper before I did this. Right. So that's all you need to do. Just make sure that all the fibre is off. It's not an exact science. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit left. I don't want to damage it in any way, and that's what you get left with. The pattern is on the sellotape. And then what you do is you dry it, and then when it's dry, it still has a bit of tackiness to it. You only need a tiny little bit of glue, and you can glue it onto a piece of card, or you can glue it onto a piece of wood, or you could glue it onto a piece of clear acetate. to make a stained glass window, but I think there's other ways of making stained glass windows. So that is the theory and the practice. And so check in this space tomorrow and I'll show you the finished product in my fireplace.